Hello friends, and welcome back to our journey through the power of now by Eckhart Tolle. In today's video, we will explore chapters 6 to 10, which together form the heart of the book's wisdom. In these chapters, Tolle takes us deeper into the practice of presence. He teaches us how to connect with the inner body, how to discover portals into the timeless dimension, how to bring awareness into our relationships, how to find peace beyond the ups and downs of happiness and unhappiness, and finally, how to live with true surrender to life. Each chapter shows us a different doorway into stillness, freedom, and inner strength. When combined, they give us a complete picture of how presence can transform every part of our lives, from the body and mind, to our relationships, emotions, and even the way we face challenges. So let's begin this journey through chapters 6 to 10 of The Power of Now, and uncover the timeless wisdom that helps us live with awareness, peace, and joy in the present moment. Chapter 6, The Inner Body. In this part of The Power of Now, Eckhart Tolle introduces a powerful practice, connecting with our inner body. He explains that the body is not just flesh and bones, it can be a doorway to something deeper, something he calls being. Let's explore what this means in simple terms. 1. Discovering the inner body. Tolle says that our true self is beyond the mind and beyond the physical body. Most people, however, believe they are just their body and mind. This creates fear of death, fear of loss, fear of not being enough. But when we become aware of the life energy inside the body, we touch a reality that cannot be destroyed. This deeper awareness is what he calls being. It is the silent presence that exists beyond name and form. You can't understand being with your mind. It's like a fish trying to understand water. You can only feel it directly. 2. The role of words. Tolle reminds us not to get stuck on words like sin, unconsciousness, or even God. These are just signposts pointing toward truth. For example, the word honey is not actual honey, you have to taste it to know it. Similarly, spiritual words are only useful if they help you connect with reality. If they block you, let them go. 3. Finding the invisible reality. He explains that the physical body we see is only the outer shell. Inside, there is a subtle energy field, the inner body. By bringing attention to this inner body, we realize we are more than form. This realization helps us overcome the illusion of being just a vulnerable creature stuck between birth and death. When we focus too much on thinking, we lose contact with the inner body. Our mind takes over, creating fear, stress, and compulsive thoughts. The solution is to shift attention away from thinking and into the body. 4. A simple practice. Close your eyes. Feel your hands, your feet, your arms. Notice the tingling, the aliveness. Don't think about it, just feel it. If you keep your attention there, it will grow stronger. Eventually, you can feel your whole body as one field of energy. This is the beginning of inhabiting the body, a practice that connects you to being and to peace. 5. Transformation through the body. Many religions have treated the body as sinful or unimportant. People tried to find God by denying the body, through fasting, punishing themselves, or escaping into trance states. But Tolle says this is a mistake. Real transformation happens through the body, not away from it. The body, when deeply felt from within, becomes a doorway to the divine. Jesus said, "Your whole body will be filled with light." This is not a metaphor. It points to the inner reality of the body. 6. Living with deep roots. The key is to remain connected to the inner body all the time. This gives us deep roots, like a tree anchored firmly in the earth. When we are rooted, external challenges cannot shake us. Whenever you are waiting in traffic or standing in line, instead of getting frustrated, shift attention to your inner body. Feel the aliveness inside. This turns wasted time into a spiritual practice. 7. Forgiveness before entering the body. Sometimes when people try to feel the inner body, they notice uncomfortable emotions, agitation, fear, or nausea. Tolle says this happens because old emotions are stored in us. To access the deeper body, we must accept and forgive. Forgiveness here means letting go of resistance, not holding on to anger, resentment, or blame. Once we forgive, we can go deeper into presence and feel the vibrant stillness of being. 8. Benefits of inner body awareness. Staying connected to the inner body is not just spiritual, it has physical benefits too. Slows aging. The more present you are, the less psychological time you accumulate. Your body feels lighter and more youthful. Strengthens the immune system. The body loves your attention. Presence awakens the cells and makes illness less likely. Protects your energy. Being present raises your vibration, so negative emotions from others don't easily affect you. Tolle even gives a practice. At night before sleep, or in the morning, bring attention to different parts of your body, hands, feet, chest, head, until you feel the whole body alive. This is like charging your inner battery. 9. Using breath as a gateway. If your mind is too busy, start with conscious breathing. Follow the breath in and out. Feel your belly rise and fall. Imagine breathing light into your body. Slowly, this will connect you to the inner body. 10. Creative use of the mind. Once you are present in the body, you can use your mind more creatively. For problem solving or new ideas, first pause, feel your inner body, and enter stillness. From there, fresh and powerful thoughts arise. Tolle even suggests thinking with your whole body, instead of just your head, balancing thought with awareness. 11. Listening with presence. One of the most powerful applications is listening. Most people listen only with their minds, waiting to reply or judge. True listening happens when you are present in your inner body while the other person speaks. Then, you are not only hearing their words, you are connecting with their being. This creates real relationships free of unnecessary conflict. 12. The bigger picture. In summary, the inner body practice is about turning inward, away from compulsive thinking, and connecting with the living presence inside you. When you live rooted in this awareness, fear loses its grip. Negative emotions dissolve faster. Relationships improve. Health and vitality increase. And most importantly, you realize your deeper self, unchanging, peaceful, and free. So, Chapter 6 teaches us a practical way to move beyond the restless mind. Inhabit your inner body. Start small, feel the aliveness in your hands and your breath. With practice, you will carry this awareness everywhere. In this Chapter 7, Eckhart Tolle explains how we can connect with the unmanifested, the formless source of all life. He calls these connections portals, and they allow us to experience peace, stillness, and freedom beyond the thinking mind. Going deeply into the body. One way to access this deeper dimension is by feeling the energy inside your body. Tolle suggests a simple meditation. Sit quietly, close your eyes, breathe deeply, and focus on the life energy within. Instead of thinking about the body, feel it from within. At first, you may sense this as tingling or warmth, but if you stay with it, the sense of separation between you and your body begins to fade. You simply experience being. In this state, you are no longer identified with form, and you touch the stillness of pure presence. Afterwards, you can gently open your eyes, look at the world around you, and continue to feel that inner aliveness while also engaging with the outer world. This is the first portal into the unmanifested, the source of Qi. Tolle explains that many spiritual traditions speak of Qi or prana, the life energy that flows through the body. Qi itself is not the ultimate source but a bridge between the physical world and the unmanifested. When you go deeply into the inner body, you trace Qi back to its origin, the stillness of pure being. Qi is movement, the unmanifested is stillness. Both are aspects of the same reality. By keeping part of your attention on your inner body, even during daily activities, you remain connected to this deeper source. You become a living bridge between the visible world and the invisible essence of life. Dreamless sleep. Every night, when we enter deep dreamless sleep, we unconsciously merge with the unmanifested. That is why sleep renews us in ways food alone cannot. But in that state, we are not aware. It happens without consciousness. True liberation comes only when we enter this stillness consciously while awake. That is why spiritual practice is necessary, so that presence, not just unconscious rest, connects us with the source. Other portals. Tolle highlights several additional portals. 1. The now, the most direct portal. When we are fully present, time disappears, and we sense the timeless reality beneath all form. 2. The cessation of thinking. Even a short pause in the stream of thought creates space for stillness. Taking one conscious breath, or looking at a flower without mental labels, can open this portal. 3. Surrender, letting go of resistance to what is. When we stop fighting reality, our form identity softens, and the light of the unmanifested shines through us. 4. Love. Love is not a portal itself but the natural presence that flows through once a portal is open. True love arises from the realization of oneness, not from ego needs. Space. Just as sound cannot exist without silence, objects cannot exist without space. Space surrounds everything and exists within everything. Even atoms are mostly empty space. By shifting your focus away from objects and toward the space that holds them, you become aware of the invisible essence underlying all forms. This awareness leads to a shift in consciousness, thoughts quiet down, and you touch the pure awareness behind them. Space, like silence, is a direct expression of the unmanifested. The true nature of space and time. Tolle explains that space and time, as we usually perceive them, are illusions, but they point towards something real. Space reflects infinity, and time reflects eternity. Both are aspects of the divine. When realized inwardly, space becomes inner stillness, and time becomes the eternal now. Externally, space and time remain, but they lose their power to bind us. We see the world not as ultimate reality but as a temporary form through which the timeless knows itself. Conscious death. Another portal appears at the moment of physical death. Many people who had near-death experiences describe a radiant light, peace, and serenity. At death, we briefly return to the unmanifested. But unless we are already familiar with presence, fear and attachment may cause us to miss the opportunity for full realization. In truth, every portal, whether silence, space, surrender, or inner body, is a small death, the death of the false self. When we step through, we discover that death itself is an illusion. What dies is only the form, while our true essence remains untouched. Living as a bridge. Tolle emphasizes that these portals are not abstract ideas. They can be practiced in daily life. When you walk, talk, or sit quietly, you can keep a portion of your attention on the inner body, on silence, or on space. In doing so, you stay rooted in the timeless source while still participating in the world of form. This balanced state, being both in the world and connected to the formless, is what many traditions call enlightenment. It allows love, peace, and joy to flow through you naturally. Chapter 7 shows that the unmanifested is not far away or separate. It is present in every moment as silence, space, stillness, and the aliveness within. The task is not to search for it elsewhere but to open the portals already available in our daily life. Through presence, surrender, and awareness, we realize our true essence and become a bridge between the visible and the invisible, between time and eternity. Chapter 8. Relationships as spiritual practice. Most people think relationships are about finding happiness, security, and love through another person. But Eckhart Tolle explains that if we depend on others to complete us, we create pain instead of joy. Why? Because we are bringing our own inner emptiness, fears, and unmet needs into the relationship. Instead of sharing love, we begin to demand it. At first, many relationships feel perfect. There is passion, excitement, and a sense of being alive. But often this fades and turns into conflict, disappointment, or even resentment. Tolle explains that this happens because the relationship is based on ego needs and not on true presence. The same energy that once looked like love can quickly flip into anger or blame. This is why some couples feel like they are living in heaven one day and in hell the next. The solution is not to escape or look for a new partner but to change how we relate. Tolle shows us that a conscious relationship is different from an unconscious one. In a conscious relationship, both people use challenges, triggers, and conflicts as opportunities to grow spiritually. Instead of attacking or defending, they pause, stay present, and observe what is happening inside. He introduces the idea of the pain body again. This is the stored emotional pain we all carry. In relationships, the pain body often gets activated. A small comment or action can trigger old wounds. Suddenly, a simple disagreement turns into a big fight. If both people remain unconscious, the pain bodies feed on the conflict and strengthen themselves. But if one person stays aware, they can refuse to feel the fight. By observing their pain and not reacting, they break the cycle. Tolle says that love, in its deepest sense, is not an emotion. Real love is the presence and awareness that shines when the ego and pain body are not in control. This love is not dependent on what someone says or does. It is the natural state of being. When we connect with this deeper dimension, our relationships stop being about taking and become about sharing. He also explains that aloneness is not something to fear. Many people jump from one relationship to another because they are afraid of being alone. But unless we can be at peace with ourselves, we cannot have a healthy relationship with others. Solitude gives us the chance to face our inner world and dissolve the illusion that someone else must complete us. Tolle emphasizes that the purpose of relationships is not to make us happy all the time but to help us awaken. Every challenge, every conflict, and every emotional storm is a chance to see the ego in action and to move into presence. This means relationships become a powerful spiritual practice. He gives practical advice. When you feel anger, jealousy, or hurt, pause and watch the feeling instead of acting on it. Notice how the pain body wants to blame or attack. Simply observing creates space. This space is the opening where presence enters. Once you are present, you don't need to argue or defend. You can respond with clarity instead of reacting blindly. Conscious relationships are not about avoiding problems, but about facing them with awareness. Even silence can be powerful. Sitting together in stillness, without needing to talk or fix anything, can connect you more deeply than words. Tolle also addresses sexuality. He explains that unconscious sexual desire often carries a strong element of need and dependency. It is driven by the ego's search for wholeness. But conscious sexuality, when combined with presence, can become a doorway into the sacred. In that moment, there is no past or future, only pure being expressed through the body. One of his strongest points is that you cannot find salvation through another person. If you expect your partner to free you from fear or loneliness, you will be disappointed. That freedom comes only from within, by living in the now. When you no longer demand that someone else complete you, you can truly love them without conditions. In closing, Tolle reminds us that whether we are single or in a relationship, the practice is the same: to stay rooted in the now. Relationships can be wonderful mirrors, showing us where we are still unconscious. If we use them in this way, they stop being sources of suffering and become pathways to awakening. So, Chapter 8 teaches us that the real purpose of relationships is transformation, not just comfort or pleasure. They are meant to bring us face to face with our own unconscious patterns so we can wake up. When we stop demanding happiness from others and instead bring presence into our connections, relationships become one of the most powerful spiritual practices available to us. Let's explore Chapter 9 of The Power of Now, where Eckhart Tolle takes us beyond happiness and unhappiness and guides us toward a deeper peace. We usually think that life is about being happy. But Tolle points out something very important. Happiness is tied to circumstances. We feel happy when things go our way, when events are favorable, when people treat us kindly, or when we achieve our goals. But the moment conditions change, happiness fades. That's why happiness can never be permanent. Peace, however, is something different. Inner peace is not dependent on outer conditions. It does not rise and fall with the events of life. Even in the middle of loss, illness, or pain, it is possible to rest in peace. Tolle explains that peace comes when we stop fighting reality and allow the present moment to be exactly as it is. Now, that doesn't mean we pretend suffering isn't real. If someone close to us passes away, sadness will naturally arise. But underneath that sadness, if we don't resist it, there can be stillness, a quiet serenity that says, "Yes, this too belongs to life." Peace holds space for tears without being destroyed by them. This acceptance is at the heart of forgiveness. Forgiveness isn't only about letting go of the past. It's also about forgiving the present, allowing each moment to be what it is. If we practice this, resentment does not build up, and bitterness does not take root. Now, what if the present situation is something we can change? Should we just accept and do nothing? Tolle says acceptance doesn't stop action. It changes the quality of our action. Instead of acting out of anger, fear, or ego, we act from clarity and stillness. Decisions and efforts then flow from a deeper intelligence that is wiser than the mind alone. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and philosopher, once wrote, "Accept whatever comes to you woven in the pattern of your destiny, for what could more aptly fit your needs?" This echoes Tolle's point. Whatever life brings, it can serve our awakening if we stop resisting it. Often, people only open up to this truth after great suffering. Pain forces them to release illusions. Illness, failure, or heartbreak can strip away the ego's false goals and reveal what truly matters. From this perspective, even what looks like tragedy can carry hidden grace. Another key part of this chapter is the end of life drama. Most of what people call bad in their lives is not fate, but unconsciousness. The ego thrives on drama, conflict, blame, power struggles, emotional highs and lows. But when you are deeply present, drama no longer takes root. You may face challenges, but you respond without turning them into stories that define your identity. Think of arguments. Two egos clash, each defending its mental position. Both sides resist, and the fight grows. But if one person is fully conscious, there is no fuel for drama. That person can still speak clearly and firmly, but without aggression, without needing to be right. The cycle of reaction ends. Tolle also speaks about impermanence. Everything in life, relationships, careers, possessions, even our bodies, follows cycles. There are times of growth and success, and there are times of decline and loss. The ego resists the down cycles because it wants to hold on to what feels good. But resisting impermanence only creates suffering. Spiritual awakening often begins in the down cycles. Success can be sweet, but when it eventually loses meaning, or when loss strikes, we are pushed to look deeper. In those moments, we discover that who we truly are is not the rise and fall of external forms, but the stillness underneath it all. When we cling to conditions, money, beauty, reputation, or relationships, their inevitable change feels like death. But if we identify instead with the timeless essence of being, then we can flow with the cycles without fear. The Buddha taught that even happiness carries the seed of suffering, because it is tied to conditions that will change. Jesus, too, reminded us not to store up treasures on earth where decay and loss are certain. True joy comes only from what cannot die, the presence of being itself. Tolle then turns to negativity. All negativity, anger, resentment, anxiety, guilt, is a form of resistance to the present. It is the ego saying, "This should not be happening. Yet negativity never solves anything. It doesn't dissolve the unwanted situation. It only strengthens the ego and keeps the problem alive. Think about irritation. A car alarm goes off outside. Instantly, irritation rises. But the sound itself isn't the real problem. It's our resistance to it. The mind believes that by being irritated it can change the situation. But of course, irritation doesn't stop the noise. It only adds inner suffering. So what's the alternative? Presence. Instead of resisting, we allow the moment to be. Sometimes that means dropping the negativity instantly. Other times, it means watching the feeling, letting it be, and not feeding it with thoughts. Tolle even suggests becoming transparent, letting experiences pass through you instead of hitting a wall of resistance. Imagine someone insults you. Normally, the ego reacts with anger or defense. But if you are transparent, the words pass through. You may still respond, perhaps by saying their behavior is not acceptable, but you do so without losing your inner peace. That is forgiveness in action. Tolle also warns against the trap of endlessly seeking peace. Many people chase workshops, techniques, or books, always hoping the next one will deliver enlightenment. But seeking keeps us away from the now. The way to peace is not to chase another state, but to accept fully the state you are in right now. If you feel restless, accept restlessness. If you feel non-peace, accept non-peace. Paradoxically, this surrender opens the door to peace itself. He illustrates this with a Zen story. A monk named Banzan searched for enlightenment for years. One day in the marketplace, he overheard a butcher tell a customer, "Every piece of meat I have is the best. There is no piece that is not the best." At that moment, Banzan awakened. The message? Every moment is the best when you fully accept it. Finally, Tolle speaks about compassion. True compassion comes from knowing both our shared mortality and our shared timeless essence. On the level of form, all beings are fragile, all bodies will die. On the level of being, all life is eternal. When you realize this, compassion flows naturally. You feel a bond with all creatures, not from pity, but from the recognition of the same light shining through all. This compassion is powerful. It can heal not just individuals but the collective. As human consciousness awakens, even nature and the world around us begin to reflect that shift. The new heaven and new earth described in Scripture is not a place we escape to, but a reality that arises when enough people live in presence. But remember, our main task is not to fix the world directly. It is to awaken from identification with the ego and with form. From that awakening, right action flows. We may still help, serve, and create change, but we do so from a place of peace, not from fear or anger. So, to sum up Chapter 9. Happiness is temporary, peace is deeper. Accept the present moment, whatever it holds. Stop feeding drama, it is ego's addiction. See impermanence as part of life's flow. Recognize negativity as resistance and drop it. Don't chase peace, accept what is, and peace appears. True compassion arises when we see both mortality and eternity in ourselves and others. When we live this way, we not only find freedom for ourselves but also become a light in the world, silently teaching by our very presence. Chapter 10, which is about one of the powerful spiritual practices, surrender. At first, the word surrender may sound negative. It might feel like giving up, being weak, or accepting defeat. But in this chapter, Tolle shows us that true surrender is very different. It is not about losing, it is about gaining freedom, peace, and real strength. Let's understand this step by step. 1. What surrender really means. Many people think surrender means being passive, doing nothing, or failing to improve life. But that is not surrender, that is resignation. True surrender means accepting the present moment fully, without inner resistance. This does not mean you stop taking action. You can still work to improve your situation. The difference is that instead of fighting against reality with negativity, you act from a place of peace and clarity. Imagine being stuck in the mud. Surrender does not mean saying, "I accept my fate, I will stay here forever." It means accepting that right now you are stuck, and then calmly doing everything you can to get out. This attitude makes your actions more effective because they come from clarity, not frustration. 2. Resistance creates suffering. Whenever we resist the present moment, we create suffering. Resistance is when we mentally say no to what already is. This creates tension in the mind, negativity in the emotions, and even tightness in the body. Non-surrender strengthens the ego. It makes us feel separate from others, fuels judgment, and causes conflict. Even our body reflects this resistance through stress and disease. Surrender, on the other hand, relaxes us into life. It connects us to being, the deeper essence beyond the mind. 3. Acceptance and action. Surrender does not mean you accept your whole life situation forever. It means you accept this moment as it is. From that place, you can take wise action. If the situation is unpleasant, ask yourself, can I change it? Can I improve it? Can I remove myself from it? If yes, take action, one step at a time, staying rooted in the now. If no, then deepen your surrender and use the situation to grow spiritually. Sometimes, when you stop resisting, life itself opens unexpected doors of change. 4. Surrender and relationships. Surrender also transforms our relationships. When we cannot accept the now, we also cannot accept people as they are. We keep judging, criticizing, or trying to change them. But when we surrender, we meet people without hidden agendas. We no longer make them into means for our ego's needs. Even in conflict, surrender allows us to respond calmly instead of reacting with anger. Sometimes, simply letting go of the need to be right brings peace to both sides. Surrender does not mean letting others control or abuse you. You can say no or walk away, but without hatred or negativity. A surrendered no is firm yet peaceful. 5. Illness and surrender. Tolle also explains how surrender can even transform our experience of illness. When sickness comes, the mind creates suffering by labeling it, worrying about the future, or clinging to the past. Surrender means focusing on what is real right now, the physical pain, the weakness, or discomfort, but not the mental story around it. By accepting the present without labels, illness can become a doorway into deeper awareness. Surrender does not necessarily remove illness, but it changes your relationship to it. Instead of despair, you find inner peace. Sometimes, this peace even supports healing. 6. When disaster strikes. Life sometimes brings situations of great loss, death, breakup, illness, financial ruin. For many, such limit situations can break the ego and force surrender. Some people, however, resist even more and fall into despair. Others partially surrender and find new depth and peace they never knew before. Disasters can be turning points. When the ego collapses, the light of being shines through. Out of pain, surrender is born, and with it, freedom. 7. Transforming suffering. What if the suffering feels too heavy to accept? Tolle says then your second chance is to surrender not to the situation, but to your inner state. Instead of resisting your fear, grief, or anger, let yourself fully feel it. Witness it without judgment. When you give your full attention to the feeling, without creating mental stories, it begins to dissolve. The suffering transforms into peace. This is the miracle of surrender. 8. From mind energy to spiritual energy. Until surrender, most of us live through mind energy, the restless force that created our social, political, and economic systems. This energy brings conflict and pollution. Through surrender, a new kind of energy enters, spiritual energy. This energy is pure, peaceful, and creative. It does not create more suffering. It brings transformation, both to the individual and the world. Jesus spoke of this when he said, "Blessed are the gentle, for they shall inherit the earth." True gentleness comes from surrender, and it holds a power far greater than resistance. 9. Surrender and choice. Some people appear to choose pain, like staying in abusive relationships or repeating harmful patterns. But Tolle explains that this is not true choice. True choice requires consciousness. When we are fully identified with the mind and past conditioning, we are not choosing, we are acting unconsciously. Surrender awakens consciousness. It breaks the old patterns and opens the door to real choice. Only then can forgiveness, healing, and freedom happen. 10. The way of the cross. Tolle also talks about the way of the cross, the ancient path of awakening through suffering. For most people, only deep pain forces surrender. But today, more people are awakening without the need for intense suffering. They are consciously choosing to surrender and live in the now. This is the path of conscious enlightenment. The question is, how much more suffering do we need before we are ready to surrender? When we say, "I will create no more pain," we step into freedom. 11. Forgiveness through presence. Forgiveness is not something we can force. As long as we are identified with the past, forgiveness is impossible. But when we live in the now, the past loses its grip. We realize that nothing done to us can touch the essence of who we are. At that point, forgiveness happens naturally, not as an effort, but as a state of being. 12. Signs of true surrender. How do we know when we have truly surrendered? Tolle says, when you no longer need to ask. In surrender, there is peace, clarity, and lightness. The constant inner resistance is gone. The essence of Chapter 10 is simple yet profound. Surrender is the key to peace. It does not mean giving up, it means giving in to the present moment. By saying yes to life as it is, we stop creating resistance and suffering. From there, action flows naturally, relationships heal, illness transforms, and even disasters open the door to awakening. Surrender is the bridge between pain and peace, between ego and being, between time and eternity. And that brings us to the end of chapters 6 to 10 of The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. In these chapters, we learned how to connect with the inner body, step through portals into the timeless dimension, bring presence into our relationships, move beyond the ups and downs of happiness and unhappiness, and finally, discover the true meaning of surrender. Together, these lessons remind us that peace and freedom are never found outside of us. They are always here, in the present moment, waiting to be discovered. As we close this section, let us remember, the now is not just an idea, it is a living reality. By choosing presence in small moments every day, we bring light, clarity, and love into our lives. Thank you for joining this journey through the power of now. If you found this helpful, please like, share, and subscribe for more chapter-wise summaries. And most importantly, try to carry these insights with you, not just as knowledge, but as a living practice. Because life is always happening, right now.